Yo, 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 you're back with the show. My name is Andrew, and we're here today with Lincoln. I'm just going to try something a little different, okay? Just chatting is something I've sort of wanted to get into for a while. I don't know exactly where it's going to go, okay? I have a lot of um, interests, a wealth of knowledge, arrogant though that may sound, and I feel like it just so occasionally it's wasted on video game playing. And so, as I said, though, we're here with Lincoln. Lincoln and I met through a mutual friend, and we're just going to sort of freestyle it for right now. We'll see what's going on. Maybe someone else will join in as the stream goes on. We'll see what happens. Introduce yourself,
Oh,
Lincoln, or say hello.
hi, I'm Lincoln.
Where's Lincoln?
Kind of new to Twitch too. Um, Only been on Twitch for about a year. Haven't started streaming yet, but planning on getting into it. So I'm just here to help out my buddy here a little bit and check out his stream. Is just chatting.
So there you go. So, Lincoln, if you want to tell them what your Twitch handle is, um, go ahead and do that now so they can follow you. If even if you haven't started up yet, they know when to look for
Right,
that.
right. So it's Lincoln Lee underscore TV.
There you
So
go.
yeah, I haven't started anything yet, but that's my handle on there.
So look out for that. That'll be an announcement we'll probably do here too, guys. Lincoln Lee underscore, what was it?
TV. Yeah,
TV.
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 Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that'll
Lincoln Lee
probably be,
was taken,
you'll,
which is weird.
you'll probably see, I mean, as this goes on, and if I do more of this, you'll probably see Lincoln here. Um, this is again something I've been wanting to get into for a while anyway. Um, and this and more, and Lincoln and I have had we've had a couple an idea that I've had for a while that I have not been able to get some of my other friends to engage with. And Lincoln thought it was a good idea, and so we might explore that. I won't get into too many details as per that goes right now, but um, you know, that's certainly something that's on the table. So you'll probably see Lincoln more in the future.
Yep.
That's again, so that's Lincoln Lee underscore TV. Look out for that when he starts streaming. Um, but for right now, we're just gonna do what we do. So, any particular subject you want to broach today, Link?
Uh,
Just feel free. And by the way, I run a loose channel here, so like you know, there are no real. I mean, there are limits, but you'd have to really stretch yourself to find them.
hmm.
And Lincoln's pretty conservative, guys. So I don't. I seriously don't think that's fucking happening, right? Yeah, I'm just to be
Well,
honest with you. That's not likely.
I'm conservative, but I'm a Democrat, so you can say that.
He's right. He's he's sensitive about everything. I'll say that. That's
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
like
I
even
don't know. I mean,
I.
what were we talking about? Like, you said you like psychology and stuff. What
Mhm.
do you think? I got a question
Go
because
on.
just being on Twitch for a while
Yeah.
and or just being on here watching stuff and doing Discord and everything.
hmm
What do you think the psychology of a like Twitch streamer needs to be?
Needs
Like,
okay, so needs is so right there. There's like a trigger word
oh,
or something that could be. What a Twitch streamer psychology needs to be, or
well,
what's
not
what I
needs to be. What do you think? Because it's tough to do, right? I mean, it
no.
well,
No.
and it becomes such a bigger thing. What I've
Right.
been noticing, like becomes such a bigger thing than what it probably should be. It starts taking over parts of your day and
Yes.
stuff, and you
Yes.
know,
So, you just my experiences, just my personal experiences.
yeah,
So what you need to be able to do is like even in times now this is my ultimate right here, and if I can get more people to engage like this, that's where I will thrive. I've had a hard time thriving personally, and even though I'm more than perfectly capable of like just talking, you kind of sound odd if you're just sort of talking to yourself.
right,
So if you don't have an active and engaging chat, that's tough.
You're right.
or you don't have someone else here like I have you here today with me, to have a conversation with. That gets tough, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can sort of mitigate, I guess, that friction with video games, like is what I've been doing a lot of, right?
Yeah.
But that's not my personal preference, nor has it ever been. I've always wanted to sort of start to get into a more of a podcast type format, sort of like this,
Sure. Yeah.
right. This has always been sort of if I had a dream of what the channel would become or what it is, I love playing, don't get me wrong, I love playing video games and I love my video game fans. Okay. No doubt about it. But
Have you
that's,
ever thought? Because like I was always thinking too. Yeah, I used to watch all those like YouTube gamer like Game Grumps stuff like that. You know that
mhm.
people they'd make fun of or they'd be playing the game and they kind of laugh, joke around about it and stuff like that. Have you ever thought about doing anything like that before? Or are you mostly into like the Call of Duty stuff?
Okay, say it again.
Oh, like can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. I just,
Okay.
uh,
Well, like I see like you play a lot of like the Call of Duty stuff and like the games like that, right? Have you ever thought about doing like games where you have a couple people playing it and just kind of I don't know how to put it. You know, like I don't know if you ever watched Game Grumps before, or some of those YouTube stations where like you have one guy that's a really good gamer and the other guy is just there for basically comedic, you know,
okay,
timing
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. Um,
I mean,
yeah, most of the guys that I know are pretty serious. If anything, I'm
okay,
the I'm I'm sort of the comedian, I guess. So
okay,
no, I actually, and if I'm gonna break down, I enjoy a few things. Um, my dad got me started playing golf when I was 3 years old. Um, and in a kind of funny story, he dragged me to the golf course kicking and screaming. I didn't really want to go. And then I won that day. They didn't even let 3-year-olds play. He convinced the pro to let me
really,
play. And then I fell in love with golf. So obviously I play video game. I play whatever whenever a golf video game comes out. I'm all over it. I enjoy tennis. So that's another thing that I enjoy.
okay,
I've never played tennis in real life, like golf, but I enjoy it a lot. Um, and then when it comes down to like say war video games, my preference is far from Call of Duty.
oh, okay.
I
I was just kind
I
of looking through. I
yeah,
didn't.
I
Yeah,
so and I could give you the rundown of like what my favorite, say, historically of all time favorite war games would be. I mean, like, the old SOCOM 2 was, and that was back when people played games, and we played SOCOM 2 for like 2 or 3 years. That was back before everybody had the attention span of a fruit fly, and you needed DLC content every month, or you were like rioting in the streets.
yeah.
So I actually like, and I find that most of the time they go hand in hand with sort of third person shooters. I like I'm a huge military sort of buff. I'm very into the military. So
Okay.
uh, tactics, strategy, things like that, things you don't find in like team deathmatch Call of Duty. It just doesn't exist, And I find that a lot of times third-person shooters sort of lend themselves more to that. So like the last truly great game I want to say that I've played was Tom Clancy Ghost Recon Wildlands, as far as war games go, you know.
Well, yeah, I think I've tried to play one of the Tom Clancy one. It was all right. It was kind of fun. Um, never did finish it though, but it seemed like the storyline was pretty cool. That's what I like to get. I like games that have like a cool
Right.
storyline that you can get interested in.
Right. And here's the other thing that I'll say, okay? Now, I've been in fights over this, trust me. But I don't have, so like a lot of times those games and like Call of Duty, Halo type games will have tremendous campaigns that you can't co-op for some bizarre reason. Um, So a lot of times I will enjoy playing the campaigns. I
Okay.
just don't enjoy the player versus player aspect of them at all. Um, I find it irritating at
Right.
best. Knowing what I do as much as I do about real life of things
Yeah.
is hard for
Yeah.
me to like. And there was an exact moment, and I tell people this. There was a literal exact moment in time when I said to my friends, "Don't ever ask me to play Call of Duty again." It was actually Black Ops 2, I think, and there was if you I don't know if you ever played it, but there was like the uh, satellite array map. It was a snow map, right? And we were playing
Okay.
Search and Destroy, which is about the most tactical thing you can find on Call of Duty. Um, and it was me versus three guys. And like I killed one. I went into the server room. I killed another. And I knew the guy would be coming in behind me. I jumped out the window. I swung around. He thought I was still in the server room. I stood on top of him and unloaded into the back of his head. He stood up, jumped out the very same window I did, came around and killed me, and I said, "Fuck it, I'm out." And don't ever ask me to play again. That's that.
See,
Never
that's
again.
why I don't think I could play those games because I'm
Right,
not the best at those type of PvP things, and I know I'll spawn in and somebody will
right.
just shoot me. And I'll be spending my whole time spawning in the whole
Yeah,
time.
no, yeah. When
Because I tried
people,
like some of those, and it's just like
if
okay, and then I just
you
get frustrated.
if you can sponge like 4 or 5 bullets to the back of your head, no, no, and no. No times five? Yeah, no times five. We'll
Yeah.
just go no times five on that one and then be done with it, right? I said never again ask me to play this shit. I'm not doing it. It's not
Yeah.
happening. So
See,
I lend myself more towards the games like I said, Tom Clancy games have had historically, especially in the Ghost Recon genre, if you will, a tendency to be like if you shoot someone in the head, even with just one
yeah,
bullet,
they
you
shut you
know,
down. Yeah.
they fucking die because they're supposed to fucking die.
Well, and that gives the skill level too because you have to be head shooting, and
That right. So and you'll find like if you go to watch some of the stuff that I've played recently, you'll find I'm quite good at shooting. It's the and I'm actually really good at reflex shooting. Like it's not that I'm even bad at that. Like I will turn and hit you. I will shoot first and hit you first. And it's the spongy stay on target aspect of it that I hate. And a lot of times you'll see, like I said, the last truly good PvP game that I feel like I played maybe was either, and I don't remember the order. I want to say it was Wildlands, right? And then PUBG. And
okay, okay,
anything that has a health bar, anything that gives you a health bar, right, lends itself to being more accurate that way, where you can't just like go about obliviously, holding the
just
trigger down like a moron
yeah.
and somehow be successful, which
Well, and I
makes no
see people
sense.
playing like what are those games like Fortnite stuff like that where they're just
Mm-hmm.
jumping around, bouncing
And
around, and just
and build things too, like as they're doing it,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I get it. Trust me.
No, see, I grew up back at like the golden age of video games, I guess I would call it. When when you didn't have the internet and if you wanted to figure out ways to get through stuff, you had to wait till Nintendo Power comes out, or you had to write a letter into Nintendo Power and see if they answer back to you,
Right,
or
right.
whatever.
I got you.
Um, and then I started playing just a lot of like the sports games, like the basketball games. Um, and I had Sega Genesis, and then
Hmm.
later on, uh, you know, the PlayStations and PlayStation till 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I suppose. But so I still play some of those once in a while,
Hmm.
and the golf ones I always like playing like with friends, getting there, sitting around, playing the golf ones. Those are always fun.
Golf
So
is, it's very
yeah,
enjoyable. Yeah, and if you've ever played with me, it's even more enjoyable. I promise.
we'll have to do that sometime, definitely.
That
I
is a
like
bit of
doing that
go.
because you can also have conversations and just chat while playing that too, because it's not like something you have to be
It's
100%
more of a
focused on
laid
while you're
back.
doing it.
It's more of a laid back atmosphere. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I don't know anybody that's played with me that's little arrogant, but yeah, I'm never not good at golf games, guys. It's the real life experience that sort of translates over. Trust me.
Right.
So
That's how I was with basketball because that's what I played was basketball. So that's why I started getting really like when it started getting really complicated, the basketball, things, and then
Hmm.
you're trying to run like a defense, or you're trying to like, okay, I'm gonna go off of my guy to help out because this guy got burnt, so I'm gonna go help. And then they'll say you left your player minus so many points. I'm like, yeah, but I had to. That's how you play basketball. You
Right.
have to leave your player to go help this person to make him make another pass so somebody else can possibly stop, the ball. And
Right.
it seems like they just don't get that right. They don't quite get all that stuff right now in the games, but starting to
Well,
get a little frustrated with that. But
and I have a saying. Well, it's not like a phrase or like a good catch-all or anything, but like I like to tell people, it was better when you couldn't just build game the way they can now. Like the technology has changed in the way that it is. It's easier to do things, and the speed with which they do them. Back in the day, like I said, with SOCOM 2, for example, like we played that game for 3 years and nobody complained about playing the same, whatever, 10 maps for 3 years. We all loved the game.
yeah,
And, there were even cheaters, people with lag switches and God glitches, and we would just wait them out until we all got to have fun playing again. Nobody cried or complained. And some of my friends agree with me and some of them disagree with me on this, but I always say, it's the people that are not good that I think write letters to the companies and get these games
right.
changed. And as they do, they lend themselves more towards, how do I gently put this? You know what? Let's not fucking gently put this. Like shitty
Okay,
fucking players, just garbage
right.
players. And
Yeah, like taking, yeah,
right. I've often thought, and I know that the logistics of this aren't so to speak, mm, uh, what's the word I'm searching for? The logistics of this aren't necessarily the way you want to frame a business, right? But like I always thought you should make two games. You know, you
oh
should
yeah,
make games for guys like me, right? Or whatever, and make the
yeah,
game for the masses where it's going to be that. And you should label it that. You should say Call of Duty Elite, and then there's a
right.
game called Call of Duty. And if you buy Call of Duty Elite and you complain, then they write a letter back to you saying, you bought the Elite
But
game, you
yeah,
idiot.
yeah, or just put the two things together on one game.
This
You can
is
play the
right,
elite,
right,
or you can
right.
play the
This is not
regular.
what you are clearly not meant to for this. Try the other version. Right.
Right.
Um,
I
so,
mean, just to let you know, I don't know how much power I got in my headset because I didn't know we were really doing this.
oh no,
But
whereas I didn't know we were doing this, by the way, guys, until like, I just asked him, I was like, well,
right.
I said, are you around? Yeah, I'm around. I was like, around? Like, if I wanted to start a stream right now, like, are you around to chat? He said, well,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, no worries, man. If you have to go, you have to go. I mean, that's that. Yeah, no
Which is cool,
worries.
yeah, because it's cool too because I can call you when I'm setting up my stuff, and you can kind of help me out since you've done this for a couple of years now, and you kind of know how to set everything up. So this will be nice.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of help. I mean, I've had help too. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not,
Yeah.
a couple of good buddies of mine, have guided me through this, so I'm happy to pay that forward. I think well, yeah, you know that about me. So
Yeah.
we've had enough conversations, Lincoln and I know.
Yeah.
He knows, generally speaking, the kind of person I am. Which is what gets so frustrating, that I get bogged down in the video game stuff and like not having a chat that's really
Right.
engaging, and it's really not. I'm good with people, and I just playing video games and having a chat on that's
Right.
not being very engaging does not
Well, and the
accentuate
thing,
or really you know underscore
like being
what
on,
my value is.
right, like being on Twitch though, like what are you allowed to debate about? Because we have some pretty good debate, in Discord and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, you're allowed to, as far as like what Twitch says, or as far as like
well,
whatever.
well, like people are always afraid. It's weird because like some people are afraid to debate about politics or debate about
Yeah.
current events or whatever stuff like
Hmm.
that. But then you see somebody like Hassan who does it all the time, but he's
Yeah.
obviously really huge.
Right.
So
I'm
you
not
just
afraid
never
of
know.
anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I stay away from, and I'll tell you privately later.
Right.
But there's two things that I try to steer clear from, and I'll blatantly tell you. One of them is, and by the way, it doesn't work anyway because my best friend in the world is he's a slightly older white man than me, married to a black
Okay.
woman,
Okay.
and for some reason he finds it amusing to push my buttons, because he knows that I'm not racist.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll say something like, uh, if I, God forbid, I say something like "better times," you know, and say "better
Oh
times"
yeah.
for who? And I'm like,
Exactly.
oh
Yeah.
my God, shut the fuck up, Danny. Come on, like, holy
'Cause-
shit, right? Like,
yeah, you're talking
that's
about better
not
times for you.
right, right, because no, not even for me. I just in general, like like for example,
Right.
when I say better times, like, and I think that this is, and by the way, I am not a Trump supporter, so let me throw that out there right now. But I'm not a politics supporter. I think they're all idiots,
Right.
for the record. I mean, and it's all a joke. But
They all become idiots. They might
let's
go in for
right.
the right reasons, but they don't.
That's why I
It
said
doesn't
to him
take
one
long for
day,
them to.
nobody starts their story, even lives their story, thinking that they're the bad guy, right? But that's
Right.
inevitably what ends up happening to all of them. I'm sure they all have aspirations of doing good things and helping, and then somewhere along the way it just gets thwarted by power
Right.
and money. But
Money and everything. Yeah.
right, exactly, exactly. But I don't really steer clear of anything. There's one thing that I draw a hard line at.
Yeah.
Because and that's not it, as I just
Right.
said, right? But he likes to get me ornery. He likes to hear me like yell because he knows he's my best friend. He knows that that's not me.
Y-
So, and I'll get into
Right.
what I was saying about me not being a Trump supporter because I believe that like when somebody says like "Make America Great Again," and I'll get a little political right now, okay?
Okay.
Where the Clinton administration passed through NAFTA, right? Which was,
Yeah.
exporting a lot of jobs from the United States of America to other countries. So when I think people say "Make America Great Again," and some people say, "Well, great for who?" Just shut up. That's not even the point now because the world's changed dramatically since then. The world changes pretty dramatically every 10 or so years, in case anybody hasn't been fucking paying attention. And I don't think that that's the way it would be now. It's not just good for, white men. I believe it'll be better for everybody if we
Right.
bring jobs back into America. And when people say, or when I say anyway, "Make America great again," if I choose to, I believe, that's my belief system that when we bring jobs back, to where they belong.
Right. But see, but if you look like right now, we can't fill the jobs that we have.
Right now, we're in an unprecedented state, though.
Right.
Uh,
But it makes you wonder though, why is that? Because it's not like our population, totally decreased by so much that we don't have the people. But why are people like not taking the second jobs or not looking
so
at jobs that?
So, so, so if you really want to, I mean, we can. You're gonna. This is getting into some more political stuff, but a lot of jobs will demand things like like I personally, and this is a personal choice. I don't think anybody should be able to tell me whether or not I should or shouldn't do this, right? I have not had the vaccine. A
Okay.
lot of jobs will require you to have the vaccine. A lot of people will force that. That's if you want to work here, that's it. And
Well, yeah. I mean, I can see that most of those are like going to be like the health field and stuff. Like I work in retail as a manager, and we cannot find people that either we can't find them in the first place or they just don't want to work or whatever.
Mhm.
And they don't have to have vaccines or anything like that. Half of them
Well,
don't.
and I think you'd be shocked at how many people in the health field, like nurses and stuff, don't want the vaccines.
Well,
Because,
there's a few, yeah. My mom's a
mm,
nurse, and
there's more than a few, buddy.
no,
You
I don't know if
know,
we could talk about vaccines, can we? Then that.
no, I'm happy. Again, I
Oh,
don't
really?
think to it. Yeah, go for it, bro. You want to have a
Okay.
conversation about vaccines? Let's do it.
All
We'll
right.
do it right now. Let's do it.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Why do you not have the vaccine?
Okay. So, do you know what COVID is
It's
fundamentally?
a it's a coronavirus, kind of like the flu. It's just a different
It's a flu.
strain of it. Well, it is, but it's just a more deadlier version
So
of it
well, deadly for some.
for 1 million people in the United States.
old already ill, or
No,
most ill already.
I know a lot of people that were my age that died of it because they
But
didn't get the vaccine, and then their
were
wives ended up getting the vaccine after they died from it because they
so
were against getting the vaccine.
so I now so I have had pneumonia before, which is what they said sort of the symptoms were of when you got this really badly, right?
Right, you can't get out of your lungs.
And I
You
met
can't breathe.
someone. I had a friend of mine on Xbox who got it uh, after he had the vaccine. And
Hmm.
I said to him, I was like, Hank, uh, what did they give you? He said nothing. I'm like, well, that's really weird because I hear it's like pneumonia, and when I had pneumonia, they gave me a steroid pack and antibiotics. So they're giving you nothing? They're not trying to fight the pneumonia,
No,
which is what's killing
they
you?
they started trying to fight it with that, but it wouldn't work.
So it was just immune. Well, first of all, I don't think anything's immune to steroids. That's just boosting your system. That's just
Right,
boost.
but it's saying that the normal procedures on all these wouldn't work. That's why they'd have to incubate them because the stuff that they normally give people wouldn't work. So then they
Mhm.
try these other things that they kept trying, like the I, what are those? I forget what it's called. I want to say midichlorians, but that's Star Wars. But
Medically,
you know what I'm
yeah,
talking.
you
You
are
know what I'm
strong with
talking
the
about,
force. Yeah.
right? But I'll tell you what, my parents were in their 70s during this. Um, we all got the vaccine. We got double dose and the uh, booster and stuff. And if I have had COVID, I've never had any symptoms of it. So,
So, and
and most of
I've
the people I know that have had all that, like my cousins and everything like that, and my family that they all got it, none of them had a real bad case that they were laid up for a week or whatever, and still like I know a lot of people that have had it are still battling it even now.
mhm.
So I'm a believer in science, 100%. Um, so I don't really think when people are like, well, we don't know what it is. If it's like a flu shot, do you not get flu shots either?
I actually don't, and I don't ever get the fucking flu.
Well,
But like, can I? So here's what. But I will add on to that, and this is what I want to say. Okay. And you'll hear me say a lot on my channel, which is kind of ironic if you understand the actual word ironic, because it has nothing to
yeah.
do with that song that Alanis Morissette made
Right.
100 years ago. But anyway,
Well, that
um,
song is ironic that that's what she says in that song too.
because it's right, that is irony, right? So now you've made so much sense. You've made me lose my train of thought here. No. So I ask people, and if you don't mind, I'll ask you, right? So here's the
Sure.
difference, right? And if you don't mind, you don't have to get in detail. Like go
Sure.
by state. Like
Okay.
what state do you live in?
During COVID, I was in South Dakota. Now I'm in Nebraska, so it's basically the same. It's a
Okay.
very conservative area. So
So
where where I lived, nobody even thought it was real,
so
and yeah, it was kind of
this is what I'm gonna say to you, and I'm gonna get onto a couple of different things here. So I want you to try to follow along.
okay.
I often preach on this channel, that I preach about the dangers of social media, and it can be
Right.
used for really great things, and it can be used for really dangerous things. 'Cause any sociopath, psychopath, or charismatic wannabe cult leader has a
Hmm.
platform you know, to the world now. Um, and the other thing that it did was, in a really weird way, when COVID hit, was allow scientists to communicate with one another in real time. But what you can't really communicate is how different things happen. Like, you have all these different versions of the virus, right? So, like, how things breed in different environments, if you follow what I'm saying. So, and I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. You said Dakota, right? And you've never really had any symptoms, correct? Hello? Do we lose you? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Lincoln. Oh boy. Okay. Well, So Lincoln's in chat, guys. I'm gonna finish what I'm saying anyway. Okay. So you live in Dakota, which is an extremely, extremely cold place. Okay. I am from New Jersey. Okay. And I'm going to tell you a story about when I moved down to Florida for about 2 or 3 years. Okay. And I was going to a golf school down there, and everybody got the flu. And both of my roommates just about died. Like I was genuinely concerned one of them was going to, and I barely got a sniffle. Now, that's because the old wives' tale that your mothers have told you about you don't go outside in the cold weather without without jackets on is not so specifically true in that weather does not directly impact weather can't make you sick. But what cold weather does do is make your nose run, and it spreads germs more efficiently. So in colder places, people have stronger immune systems. That's just that's a fact. And I'm flat out. I'm going to tell you that's the way it is. I don't know who's there, who's not still there. Again, I don't know if Lincoln's still listening on the stream or not. But so
Check,
that doesn't really
check,
surprise me.
check.
Oh yeah, you're back. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
All right. I had to reconnect
Um,
my Bluetooth.
did you catch any of that? I mean, did you hear what?
uh, no, I didn't because I had my TV muted and I was trying to
Okay.
grab these things. But
All right, I'll re go.
okay,
So again, you said Dakota, right?
right. Yeah.
I live in New Jersey, and I told a story
All right.
about when I lived in Florida for 2 years, 3 years, right? And I was going to golf school down there, right? And they came down with the flu in my school, and everybody got it, you know. And my roommate, one specifically from South Carolina, I thought he was literally going to have to be hospitalized.
Right.
And for me, it was like a sniffle, 2 days, and I was fucking fine. And
Hmm.
the reason why is this. Um, and I don't know if you guys ever watched Mythbusters, which I love, but check that out in your own time if you will. But weather does not directly have any impact on whether or not you get sick, despite what your mother or grandmother told you.
No,
But what it does do is
it can run your
makes your
body down
nose
though.
run. Okay. So your nose runs and then you wipe your nose. It spreads. So in cold weather environments, germs spread incredibly more efficiently. It's wild. So people who live in cold weather environments will likely have stronger immune systems. So it does not shock me at all to hear. And if it's like, I know that like Dakota's not overwhelmingly populated. It's like populated per mile or whatever, how
Right.
many people there are, like New
But
Jersey
but
or
let me
or New
tell you this.
York.
I was living in a town of like 500 people, and we had our hospital was filled,
Hmm.
and we only had 500 people in that thing, and nobody in that town would get vaccinated at all, except for a handful of us. Probably only like because it was all political, to them.
Right.
They were misinformed and stuff, but a lot of them did die. Some were like the nursing home people. Obviously, there was more of them, but
Right.
there was some people that were in their 50s and 60s that did too. And then some of my friends that wouldn't get it are still having the after effects of it.
Well, I've heard that from a
So
lot of people. I've from even like even athletes that they don't feel the same up to a year after they've had it. Like they don't feel
right.
up 100%. I've heard that.
And I just think if if we wouldn't have made it political, and even if I think a lot more people would have got the flu. I think we would have had a lot more deaths because even if some would have still died, even if we could have saved a third of those million, 300,000 people, if they just would have got the vaccine. I mean, that's a lot of people that died for but they didn't have to. You know,
mhm. Well, I mean, so even if we're gonna call it the vaccine, which I just like to call it the flu shot for
that's
COVID,
not
but
what
that's
it is
let's say
because it's actually not even close to what the flu shot is. If you get the Moderna or Pfizer,
right.
it's a RNA uh, shot, so it doesn't have like a dead part of the actual thing in it. All it does is it has one of the little stems that are on the deal.
Mhm.
It replicates that so that your body will. make an immunity to it, but it has none of the COVID virus in you. So it's different than the flu shot. Flu shot, they give you like dead cells of a flu virus, uh, but this RNA actually is a little bit different than that.
So, and one of the things that I want to say, and I want to make this very clear, is I am not like anti-vax. I won't sit here and tell you
Right.
don't get a vaccination if you want to get a vaccination. I'm sort of like pro-choice, I guess is what I would say. You know,
Yeah, that's fine.
um, if that makes sense. It's my choice not
I
to.
can understand.
And
I
by
can
the way,
understand that.
I did get COVID, and I got it, man, and if you've had it, you've had it. Like uh,
See, I don't think I've had it, but I don't know how I don't because I worked in retail through the whole thing. So I'm around people all the time.
you know,
Uh,
and like I said, and you can talk to him. If he's on here, and I'll give you, I'll set that up. I know my buddy Hank, one that I said, he actually had it 3 times, and
wow.
he's had the vaccine.
Did he have all the vaccine though, or just one?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, and I'm not saying that it would work for everybody. Like nothing's going to be 100% effective, but it was like 91% effective.
No, but
So I mean,
what I'm saying to you is I personally I got it, right? I got it and I didn't have the vaccine. And I'm very comfortable with the fact that my body has its, own well, I've built up its own immunities to it.
immunity.
Right.
Yeah, as long
That's
as it isn't
much
doing
more.
damage, to it.
No, no lingering effects on me personally. So, but I'll tell you where like I mean, like I've never felt anything like it. It's not the common flu. I mean, I'll joke that it's the
Right.
vaccine's a flu shot. It's most definitely not a common flu. I have never felt. Uh, if this doesn't sound too crazy, and I think that Lincoln, like I said, we've not known each other for like an extraordinarily long time, but I think we've packed a lot into the time that we've known each other. Knows that I'm not like I'm not a Looney Tune. I know a lot of
No,
things
no.
about a lot of things. I know what I'm talking about, right? So like
Right, and
I've
I like
go ahead.
like where I'm living, I mean, you have the same opinion probably as like 50% of the people. Then we have the 25 that are kind of way on the fringe that don't even think it exists, don't even think COVID exists, and think we're
Right.
making it up, and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
No, yeah, it exists. Yeah, no, it certainly exists, and we're not conspiracy theorists here. I don't think they're
Right.
planting trackers into you. Like, I just think it's your fucking choice. That's all. And what I'll say about
I wanted to start telling people like on there because misinformation stuff. I wanted to start saying like, hey, I got the vaccine, and actually, uh, my penis grew 3 inches.
and then he was
Just
abducted by the gray aliens. No,
and then just
but
get that out there. People will be like, what? It does? I'm gonna get the vaccine shot. I'm gonna get that if it
so
grows 3 inches.
so here's what I will tell you. And as we said, I don't get flu shots, and I don't ever really get the flu. I got COVID. I know I had COVID, and how I know is I've never felt anything like it in my life. I felt it in my hips, and I felt it in my femurs. Like
Yeah.
at my age, and I'm not tremendously old, guys. Like but I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm not in my mid 20s anymore either, right? So I felt it in my hips and I felt it in my femurs, and that's like the two main supplies of bone marrow, that you have, which
Yeah.
if you understand science a little bit, stem cells, bone marrow, that's where things get, that's where the things tend to happen. Okay, I
Yeah.
if it doesn't sound crazy, I almost felt my DNA changing. If that, like, that's how bad my fucking femurs and hips. I've never felt anything like it. So I'm positive that I got it, and I'm positive that I built up immunity to it. It was like about 2.5, 3 days of just this holy shit pain in my hips and my femurs. It wasn't even really none of the. I didn't get any of the chest stuff or. But I
I was
did get
lucky
a fever. I did get, um,
because I know I talked to a lot of nurses, And I mean, a lot of them were conservative and stuff like that, but they were nurses and they were in the hospital and they just couldn't believe that these people were coming in there dying from it, and they wouldn't admit that it was COVID that they were dying from. And it was just so hard on the nurses that they wouldn't like listen to them or anything.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
you
it
can't.
really, I
Some
think
people
that's
just can't talk to. I mean, you know.
yeah. Well, that's why a lot of nurses did leave the field too and do something different because it was just so much stress and just they're working with hospitals filled with these guys and it was just so hard on them that they decided to do something else. But
And yeah, I mean, there are people that you just can't talk to. Um, like I'll give you a for instance. I talked about my good buddy Danny. You know, um, and one of his favorite pastimes, which is beyond my, you know, is he likes to go into flat Earth.
oh,
He likes to go into flat Earth chat rooms and argue with flat earthers. It's and he
pointless, but
and he brings that over to me a lot. Like and I know he does. So I'm like, Danny, you've said the same thing 375,000 times, the same exact way. I thought we were having like a debate. If we did, you lost 375,000 times because you haven't changed anything about what you're saying. I think you're picking up bad habits from the fucking
yeah,
flat earthers who just like fall back on some. And
talking points.
I don't know personally. I've never had discussions with flat earthers, but from what he's told me, like if they get stuck, they sort of like fall back on God. Like it has something to do with
Right.
faith. Um,
Well,
so
and a lot of times with that, see, the reason it's so hard and you get so frustrated talking to people like that is because they have rooms, like you said, he'd go into these rooms and all they do is talk about how they think the earth is flat. So
right.
they all have, they know if we say something, they know what to say, even though it doesn't make any sense, but they know what to say. Like, we don't have to sit there and have a room about globies, round earthers, and we don't sit there and say, because we don't think we had to defend that the earth was round because we just thought everybody knew it. But they're in those rooms
Somehow
saying it all the
oddly.
time. Yeah, so when we try to tell them common sense on it, they're like, "Oh yeah, but this and this and this." It's like, it's just
Yeah. We've somehow oddly found ourselves exactly in that position.
right.
Which is, yeah. What do you
You
do with
just get
that?
frustrated, and you're like, "Yeah, yeah."
So,
There's a documentary out on that one time, and what was funny about it was these flat earthers were trying to do science experiments to prove that the Earth was
I've seen
flat.
it. I've seen it.
Yeah,
They set up
and
and the
it was
lasers don't line up, and they're like, I don't understand what happened.
yeah,
Well, the fucking
yeah,
Earth isn't flat, asshole. That's what the fuck
they're like,
happened.
"Oh no,
You're,
we need to put it in a box. We need to put it in
but
a box
by
so
the
everybody,
way, your science experiment worked. It proved the Earth is not fucking flat.
Well, and it's like
Congratulations.
that's the thing. They weren't doing an experiment to see if the Earth was round or flat. They were trying to do whatever they could to prove it was flat. That's
Right,
not what
right.
science is. It's not like you don't come out there and try to do whatever you
And
can
still
to get your
failed.
point proven.
And
Yeah,
still failed. Yeah. Yeah, that's about
yeah.
that's what it is. But I was shocked, and again, we'll leave names out of.
Right.
But you told me our mutual friend, and I don't know if you were a joke, you were messing with me or not. Was that true?
Which one? I
The,
mean,
well,
like
the
what?
only mutual we only have that's flat Earth. Yes, no,
Oh, okay. Uh, there's one of the guys in there that does believe flat Earth. Yeah.
guys, not the person though, not the person we met through.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
No,
okay.
no.
Notice how I even managed to leave gender out of that. That's how good I am at this. Yeah.
Well, if you're on Twitch, it's 99% chance that it's a guy.
There you go. So, right. But yeah, that doesn't. I mean, they're. You know, I've just never engaged with them. Like I said, my buddy Danny enjoys arguing with them. He loves that. He brings bad habits back, like I said. But
Yeah,
to each their own.
right. I mean, and I think as more and more people do argue with flat earthers, they'll be able to disprove them because they'll be used to arguing with them and have more evidence. We just never needed to have that because no one ever thought somebody would think that the earth was flat.
Well, and I'll add to that. I mean, I'll add that there's no evidence. You'll never be able to debate with someone who is has absolute faith.
Well, see,
There's nothing scarier than a true believer in the world. I'll tell you that.
but see,
And
like
and so
the one defense I have with it is I used to do audio video like for keynote speakers on big corporate events and stuff. They bring in these keynote speakers, and one was an astronaut, and
right.
he showed pictures and he said how cool it was to be up in that ship and then like look up and see the Earth above you, and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And obviously you can see it's round because he's up there in space and he sees it.
It must be
But
so
then
cool.
all these guys are
Yeah.
like, if I say that, they're like, well, he's just in on it. I'm like, how many people have to
I
be in
mean,
on it?
it's not something like I have very few things, guys, like I nothing really scares me. There's things that I'd rather not do if I have a choice about it. Like, I applaud astronauts and I applaud submariners because
Right,
there's just shit all you could do. If sh-
right,
if something goes wrong in space or at the bottom of the fucking ocean, you're not doing anything about that. You're just
right. You can't be calling 911.
right. Like I wanted to be, and I think Link and I have discussed this. I don't. Maybe we have. Maybe we haven't. Did we discuss what sort of? And then my body broke down very very young. Unfortunately, it's still something I'm sorting through. But I wanted to be an operator. Was
Oh,
and so I have no problem jumping out of airplanes and having people shoot at me.
right. Okay.
But I don't want to be at the bottom of the ocean or in space.
It's like the
Because
claustrophobia type
that's
thing.
no control over it. There's nothing, if it goes wrong, there's nothing you personally can do about that.
It's the being buried alive type thing where it's got to be like the worst fear because you're just there, like you can't go anywhere. You're
Right.
just there waiting
There's
to,
right. It's the control freak thing. Like maybe that's it. Like there's. I always feel like if I got into a like say a firefight as an operator, you know, your adrenaline's going. And I've been able to do this in my life just to be so we're all clear on this. And as I played different sports, I was very good at golf, like I said. I was very good at bowling, which is just sort of an odd thing to say and something that's irrelevant. But like Ian, I've been very clutch. I've been, and if you know what it is, you know what it is. Like, so I always feel like if I was in a firefight, when you gotta, if that ever came down to it, and bullets have to count more than in a normal firefight, I would be able to rise to that occasion. But like when you're at crush depth at the bottom of the ocean or out in space, there's just not.
can't figure
There's
anything out.
no rising to any levels there. There's just you getting fucked by things out of your control. So, you
Right.
know,
That's how I always am too. I'm always like, whatever. And I think this is just being have been in a management and working in factories too, and just trying to figure out like we have to figure out better ways of doing stuff. Or if there's a problem that comes up, you always just have to be like, okay, well, I have to figure it out. You can't just say, well, nope, that's how it is. There's always something you can figure out to do it. So you're probably like that too, where if you're in a firefight or in something like that, you're gonna figure out what you need to do.
that's what I'm saying, right? There's like, I feel like as long as, like, right, the land is where we belong, and there's always something, right. Someone with the mind and the skills, you can rise to certain occasions. There's always something you can do, but like, there's nothing you can do about an environment that you're not meant to fucking be in.
Right. I
That's
agree.
just bad news. Uh, so I applaud them, and I do, and that this is coming from someone who genuinely, like I said, and I would have taken it as far as I could have. If I could have made like tier one, I would have made tier one. Uh,
Right.
so you're talking about someone who's no problem with jumping out from 40,000 feet with no oxygen, straight
Right.
down into a firefight, whatever. I don't care. Having people shoot
At
at
least
me for a living, fine, but
it could be too. I mean, do you like roller coasters?
I don't mind roller coasters. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, because I hate roller coasters, and actually, I've never flown before. And I think the two reasons of that is it's like a control thing.
I
I don't
gotcha.
feel like I have any control, like you were saying. Like I
Right.
couldn't, like if the plane was going down, do I think I could go in there and land that plane to figure it
Yeah,
out?
it oddly it's sort of a weird thing. It oddly doesn't translate to me for planes. Yeah, I just
Right.
kind of figure,
And like
um
roller coasters the same way. You're just in a seat. If that thing just goes shooting off somewhere, it's like, well, it's like giving up control, and you're just in it, and whatever happens, I guess happens.
right. Yeah, that's an odd thing. I've never really thought of it. The planes don't bother me. I don't think they ever will.
It
But
probably
yeah,
wouldn't if I actually did go on a few times. I think I'd be fine, but I just never have, so I just don't do it.
and to be really clear, before I so there's a program, and when I was growing up, I wasn't aware of the program. I forget what it was called, X18 or X28, and I was not aware of it growing up. So what I was going to do was join the Marines, uh, which in my personal opinion is probably the best basic training you can get in the world.
Oh yeah.
Um, do my combat tour. The Iraq War was in full flow at that time, and then
Yep.
and then go into the Navy and go right into Buds. I was going to try to go out for the SEALs. Um, I had no idea. There is, by the way, though, I didn't know the Army had this. It's a sort of like a pipeline straight into Special Forces, and I wasn't aware of that back then when I was younger. Um, but the difference is you're aware of what it is, and so the other thing that happens is like they'll prepare you, and if you don't pass, you'll never get into Special Forces.
Right.
That's like the caveat, right? Like, so you know what this is. It's for type A personalities. It's for guys who think they can achieve in this environment. And if you fucking don't, you'll never be allowed back. Period.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's the difference. I didn't know it existed back then. So I was gonna do the SEAL thing because I think that's the most as far as I knew, the most democratic way to get into sort of special operations. You can go right into Buds as long as you pass basic for the Navy. And then if you get through Buds, you do your SEAL training, and then you know that's a couple years actually, and then that's that. But I wasn't aware that the Army had their own pipeline. I'm not sure if that would change what my plan was, But if I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it,
Who are the Green Berets?
so
Is
that's
that the
special.
Army?
So let me, and I want to be really, really, so real again, Army buff or military buff, like really
Okay.
specific on this. There are only two. There are only two entities, if you will, that you could call special forces. There's special operations, okay? Um, the Green Berets are special forces. They're so like, and by the way, anyone who can call themselves special forces has to go through Green Beret school, or
Okay.
um, but that's literally sort of like uh,
Because I know my father was in the Army during Vietnam, so he's a big Army. You know, I
so
don't know.
there were
He doesn't really care for the Navy or the Marines, too
there were
much.
SEALs, so there were SEALs,
Yeah.
and Green Berets at that time.
Right. Because he was a big Green Beret fan. But
Yeah.
also, when you go into those military forces, you are trained not to like the other military forces.
Yeah, it's a weird sort of rivalry they have,
Well, my dad always would say, he'd go, the Army had everything. Like they have their
that's
own Air Force, they have
so
their own, you know,
so and
land troops, and
I'll
yeah.
tell you this. This is the truth, by the way. And you heard what I wanted to do. The Marines often do more with less. I don't, I don't care what anybody says. Look into it. It's true. They
Right.
get the leftovers from
Oh,
everybody else, and they
I
and
know.
they and they kick dicks in, and they fucking.
Well,
It's often funny because what happens is the Marines will come in, right? And they'll totally throttle an area, and then they'll let like basic
well,
army
I heard
hold it.
coming from an Army man, right?
Okay, and then the indigenous people start to they feel like free to attack at that point in time. Well, the
Because
Marines are gone. Let's go. But go
what
ahead.
they used to do is like who stormed Normandy? Is that the Army?
So okay, so I wanna now we're going all the way back to World War II.
Right.
There are actually, and this is fascinating because the oldest of, say, special operations, which is different. Remember, I said there's only two entities that can call themselves special forces, and they have to go through special forces school, which is Green Berets. Okay,
Right.
which is the Green Berets, all right, and uh,
Navy SEALs.
no, actually no, no, it's Delta Force,
Oh, okay.
or whatever you want to call it. It's
Is that with Chuck Norris?
they still like to say that they officially don't exist, but it's like come on guys, like
Well, okay, because this is the thing. That's what my dad was joking about. Because he said back when they were storming Normandy too, and the reason people always think the
oh,
Marines were doing everything is because the camera crew always went with the Marines.
so
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 they'd all they see is the Marines doing stuff.
right.
But on that, when they stormed Normandy or whatever and did that, they actually called and sent the Marines back because they didn't want the camera crews and stuff to be
So
there
I'll do
and
you one.
everything.
I'll do you one better than that. What I was getting after was the Rangers. The Army Rangers
Oh
are
yeah,
the
Army Rangers.
oldest. The Army Rangers are the oldest. Actually,
Yeah, they're the
anything.
ones that jump out of the or the paratroopers. They have paratroopers and stuff
Right,
too, right?
they're the oldest anything really in the because that actually goes all the way back to the French and Indian War.
Okay.
Back before this was even a country, there were Rangers. Um, there's a saying in the Rangers. Everybody knows that uh, the French Indians attacked. I don't know before dawn or something or at dawn, something like that. I don't know exactly how it goes. It's been a while, to be clear. But so so what happened was there, and I may be wrong about this, and I welcome anybody to come in and correct me because I actually I'm the one person you'll find that enjoys being corrected because I love to obtain knowledge and learn. So
Yeah.
the Marines were separate. So when we engaged in World War II, the Marines were sent to the Pacific Theater, and the Army was sent into Europe. So the Rangers were part of the Rangers were a large part of the Normandy invasion, the beaches. Okay.
Okay.
Now we had paratrooper units, the 101st and the 82nd Airborne, which parachuted behind enemy lines at at the same time. So and that was sort of like more of a predecessor to what you'd be talking about with like sort of special forces, I think,
Okay.
than the Rangers. Uh, you know, now that falls under the Rangers fall under special operations. SEALs fall under special operations. Marine Force Recon and Raiders fall under special operations. Um, Green Berets, and if you go through the school, and I'm not saying everybody goes through school. I'm not sure how they work that now. It's fluid. It's always changing. But if you've gone through uh, Green Beret school, you've gone through Special Forces school. You call yourself Special Forces, which is still still part of maybe Special Operations, but that's the line though. You can only so like there's special operations, but you can only call yourself special forces if you've done Green Beret school. And that's to my knowledge, there are people that do both. Like there's Rangers that have gone through Ranger school and special and special forces school. A lot of them will be Delta operators, to be frank.
Yeah.
Uh,
They'll be with
so
Chuck Norris.
sure,
Chuck Norris is their boss, isn't it?
sure, if you like, right? Yeah. But and that's like tier one, the tier one of tier one, by the
Yeah.
way. Delta Force or the
What?
unit or CAG is what I think the most recent name, which is the least discreet name they've ever had because it literally stands for Combat Applications. Was it CAG as the Combat Applications Group?
Okay.
So yeah, they can recruit from anywhere, which other people can't, which other special operations especially can't do. Like if so, like Delta can recruit from the Coast Guard, from the Marines, from the SEALs. They recruit from wherever they want, and that doesn't mean that you have to say yes.
They just
but
take the best of the best, right?
but they can take, well, they don't take. I mean, it's an invitation. And by the way, you can think you're real badass. You still have to get through fucking selection, which good luck to
Right.
you. You're right.
Right.
But what I'm saying is they're the only one that I'm familiar with that are even allowed to draw from anywhere they want. So
All right. Well, we went an hour
yeah, it's
combined
good.
for this
All right.
game.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm surprised.
good times. Hour 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, this is definitely cool. I'll definitely come back on here and we can think of some other stuff to talk about. Hopefully other people will watch too and want to come in and do stuff like that too. That'd be fun.
oh yeah, man, for sure. And we could have like more we maybe something a little more planned out. We could,
Right.
conversation wise, we could hit talking points. We could address that we have
Exactly.
talking points that we want to hit on. I'll just say one more thing for those who are Army buffs out there that you'll know, like, as Rangers go, um, there's four regiments, you know, and one was completely wiped out, if I'm not mistaken, during Normandy, what you were talking about, which was the fourth.
Right.
So they don't. So that's now. Uh, they call that the 75th Ranger Regiment, which is a Special Operations Regiment, specifically. And they work with JSOC. They work directly with like SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force, the Tier 1 operators, as a larger force. They're not Tier 1, right? But they work as sort of like the um, quick reaction slash if shit goes squirrely, we got your back force for those more high speed guys. Which, and by the way, Delta, I think, for one, recruits pretty heavily from the 75th. But they'll never name another regiment the fourth since they lost the entire thing.
You'll definitely be able to teach me a lot about military because you know way more than I do. I just know from stories that my father told me because I was never in the military. So
Right, right. I get in fights with, even, well, not fights, but with friends of mine, right? So like, a lot of people like to say clips, and like gun people will correct you and say magazines,
oh
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
which is correct, and that comes from World War II. So what happened was you'd have magazines that were already welded into the guns, okay, and you'd have like about this size, whatever, roughly between like 5 and 8 rounds. Then they'd have, it's an odd looking thing. Look it up. It's called a stripper clip, okay.
Okay.
And what will happen is when your gun was not loaded, so you take that and you strip the bullets down into the already welded into the gun magazine. And that's where like your grandfathers would come home and they'd say clip. And then people
Okay.
picked that up and they started saying clip. Now, semi-automatic weapons are magazine fed, which they had magazines. They just, that's, you'd feed them with the stripper clips. They were welded into the gun. They didn't detach. Now all magazines are most detachable. You know what I'm saying? So unless it's like hunting rifles and stuff like that, there's a fun fact for the day for you all too, I guess. But it sounds like, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. You have stuff you got to do, because I'm. If you want to stay in, I'm here. If you want to stay in
Well,
chat, and we're here to stay in chat.
I got my monitor, and so I want to start setting up my computer in the back room and my desk and stuff in my chair.
Okay.
Just do that since I don't have a day off now for about 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
So today's the only day I got to do this. But yeah, definitely, get a hold of me anytime, and if I'm at the house, I'll jump on, talk about whatever.
This sounds awesome. So let me thank you for being here.
Yeah,
I
thank
can't
you
tell you how
for
much I.
having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. You and I. This was like, we met, and we are not like-minded, but um it just works. We click somehow. Like,
Right.
that's right. It was one of those things. Like, So it's always a joy, Lincoln. Always joy. Always have a good time talking to you, and you're always welcome here. And I hope that you will join us more frequently.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely will. And then when I get my stuff all set up too, we can do other fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Go back and a little back and forth, a little tete-a-tete.
Right.
Absolutely,
Right.
without a doubt, man, without a doubt. So, I mean, yeah, you go take care of what you have to do. I'll sign off, and
All right.
yeah, all right.
Well,
See,
talk to you soon.
all right, man. Take it easy.
Yeah. See you, man. Bye.
All right, boys and girls, that brings us to that time again. So, to all my guys and gals, boys and girls, lords and ladies, to each and every single one of my non binary gender fluid snowflakes out there, this is the show, showing you love, but most definitely signing out. Have a good day.